What's going on, everyone? Dots here, and today I'm bringing you guys an updated version of my Plague Stamina Necromancer build for the Elder Scrolls Online Waking Flame patch. So my Stamina Necromancer really hasn't changed very much from Blackwood to Waking Flame. Pretty sure his build stayed basically exactly the same, but I didn't make a build video for Blackwood, so I figured I would make one here for Waking Flame. But if you have been following this build on my website, dotsgaming.com, the only thing that really has changed, I think, is like the champion points, because they made some new CP stars that I thought were really, really good. But otherwise, I'm pretty sure everything stayed exactly the same. Build's been really fun. I like it a lot. Deals a lot of damage. It's incredibly tanky. StamCro is just an absolute beefcake. The build's really fun, so if you've been looking for a build for your StamCro to play, I think this one will serve you well. But guys, like I always do say in all of my build videos, this is just what I like, what I use, and what personally works for me. If you would run something else on your StamCro, go right ahead. This is just what I have found success with and what I have found enjoyable to play here on the Stamina Necromancer. So kicking things off with our first set, I am using 2 pieces of Selines, which gives us a line of maximum stamina, and after we deal martial melee damage, you call on a primal spirit that mauls the closest enemy in front of you after 1.3 seconds for physical damage, and this can occur once every 6 seconds. Now, the great thing about Selines, I know it's a bit on the slower side still compared to how it's been in the past, but I actually find that for the StamCro, I can still take pretty good advantage with it, especially if I combine it with the skills that I do have in my kit. If I see that I hit someone with the D-swing and the Selene starts to proc, I can go into a medium weave, knock them down, follow it up with the Dawnbreaker, and then the Dawnbreaker and the Selines are going to hit at the same time for some massive damage. Obviously, if you don't prep the opponent for the Selines with a stun or with any sort of, CC like that, they could potentially just dodge out of it. And, of course, Selines will miss every now and then. But if you do prep someone for it right, you can actually deal quite a bit of damage with this set. And I do find it to be very, very good. Our main 5-piece, is going to be Ancient Dragon Guard. A line of maximum health, a line of weapon damage, a line of crit chance, and this gives us 289 weapon damage while above 50% health, and 3,300 physical and spell resistance below 50% health. I have loved Ancient Dragon Guard on my StamCro for quite a long time. It just gives you a little bit of everything, man. It gives you damage when your health is high to take down opponents, and gives you resistance when your health is low to help protect your healing and help you get back in the fight. I just find it to be an extremely good set, and it's something that I've been a fan of for quite some time. And yeah, I think it's really, really solid. Our front bar 5-piece set on the build, though, is going to be 5 pieces of Spriggans for 2 lines of maximum stamina, a line of weapon damage, and 3,300 physical penetration. People have been building pretty tanky recently, trying to combat how high the damage is in the current meta in ESO, and so Spriggans is going to help me rip through my opponent's defenses by giving me a lot of penetration. Also, because I am using Spriggans, I don't feel the need to run a Nirnhoned Maul or a Sharpened Sword, and I can instead go for a Nirnhoned Great Sword to get a lot of effective weapon damage from this singular item. So this, combined with our weapon damage glyph and major brutality, is going to give us a lot of weapon damage on this build and make us deal a lot of damage, honestly. Now my back bar 2-piece right now on live is just kind of like a, I just have basically like a dummy spot here. I just have 2 random pieces of potentates here. But what I'm going to actually recommend that you use, I just don't have it right now because I've been really lazy about farming it, is 2 pieces of Puncturing Remedy. Now, this is from DSA, and this is going to combine really well with the fact that we use Pierce Armor on our back bar to give us extra defenses and extra healing. It's really, really, really strong. If you do have it, you're going to use that on the back bar. If you do not have it, just use Potentates or Death's Wind or just something as a placeholder until you get this, but it's absolutely worth the slot. You get a lot of effective tankiness from it, and I definitely recommend grabbing it for that back bar. Now, in terms of traits and everything, I'm actually using a 5-2. I use 2 heavy and 5 pieces of medium. I do want to be, basically, I want to be 6 impen and 1 reinforced on my chest. If I was doing it optimally, like I said, head, shoulders, gloves, legs, boots, and belt would all be impen, with the chest being reinforced. I still am working on trait changing this guy, so I do not have the correct traits right now, but that is what I would recommend. You're going to want to run, I personally like to run 2 robust and 1 infused, 1 stamina recovery and 2 weapon damage. You could potentially, if you don't want to run as much maximum stamina as me, you could potentially change this one to infused as well. But I personally would leave the necklace with the stamina recovery robust. But whether or not you want to run 1 infused or 2 infused, I'll leave up to you. You're then going to want to go with a Nirnhoned Greatsword with a weapon and spell damage enchant, and then a Nirnhoned one-handed weapon with a sturdy shield on the back bar. Now, in terms of our skills, we're using Dizzying Swing. This is a D-Swing build. We're trying to go for that D-Swing, Blast Bones, Dawnbreaker, Celine's Smack. So this is going to deal physical damage to our opponents, set them off balance, and if we hit them a second time, we can stun them. Or if you medium weave after the D-Swing, you can then stun the opponent instead. It's up to you whether or not you want to do that. Like I said, D-Swing is going to combine well with Blast Bones, which deals a huge amount of AoE disease damage, as well as giving our enemies Major Defile, reducing their healing, take-in, and health recovery by 16%, allowing us to just really chip away at our opponents as they struggle to heal themselves back up. We also do run Mortal Coil on the front bar. Mortal Coil is an absolutely ludicrously powerful heal, and it also gives us stamina over 12 seconds, and it increases our healing done by 3% on that front bar, giving us nice big rallies as well. So basically, as you're creating corpses from your armor buff, from your little ghost, and from the Blighted Blast Bones, you're going to want to use Mortal Coil on them in order to give yourself that giant heal over time. We also do use Executioner as the execute on the build, so as your opponents are getting low on health, you're going to swap from using D-Swing to Execute. Rally is going to be our source of Major Brutality, Minor Endurance, and a big heal. Rally is just such a great skill. You get so many effects from it, and it is absolutely a must-run skill. Now, my ultimate of choice on this build is Dawnbreaker. As much as I hate Dawnbreaker because I feel like sometimes it misses even though I have it lined up perfectly, when it hits, it is objectively a very good skill. It does a lot of damage, a lot of unfront damage. It does a good damage over time, and I believe that it was buffed in a way by the new changes to I believe it is skill tracker. So your fighter skill damage skills deal an additional 10% damage, and this bonus is doubled against werewolves and vampires. This used to only be 20% against werewolves and vampires, but now it's 10% against everyone and 20% against vampires and werewolves. So Dawnbreaker just deals so much damage right now. It also is a stun, combines really well with Celine's, the whole Celine's Blast Bones, Dawnbreaker combo, smacking somebody and sending them in the next week. It's really good. You get a lot of AoE pressure with this, and then you can just literally start whirling around and executing people as they take a lot of damage. Back bar, we're gonna have Pierce Armor. A significant portion of our penetration is coming from Pierce Armor because we get 9,000 penetration from Pierce. So between Pierce Armor, and I don't know why I dodge rolled, between Pierce Armor and Spriggans, we're chilling at about 13k spell pen, which I'm pretty happy with personally. If you feel that you want to run a little bit more spell pen, feel free to change the Greatsword to a Maul, but I personally think 13k is more than enough. And so for that reason, Pierce Armor does carry the majority of the load for our penetration on the build. So very good skill. Also runs really well with Puncturing Remedy if you have that for the back bar. Make us even tankier than the StamCro already is. We also do have Resolving Vigor. This is going to be our primary hot on the build in addition to Mortal Coil, so we have a lot of healing over time coming in with Vigor. The next skill that we have is the Spirit Guardian, and this is what makes the Stamina Necromancer and the Necromancer in general so tanky. This gives us a Guardian for 16 seconds that we summon that heals us every 2 seconds, but this gives us 10% damage reduction. It's just a baked-in major protection that's outside of the major minor system. It's extremely strong. On top of this, this also does give us Undead Confederate for that extra 200 recovery. Spirit Guardian just makes the Stamina Necromancer so insanely tanky and is definitely the best pet to run for the build. I also do run Summoner's Armor to make my Blast Bones and that pet that I just mentioned, the Mender, a little bit cheaper, 15% cost reduction. This is, again, our major resolve buff, and it also does create a corpse on death. Or excuse me, when the effect completes, rather. Shuffle is also going to be our movement skill for the build, and it also does give us major evasion, so we get a bunch of different percent mitigation sources on the build, which is very nice. But this gives us, major evasion, gives us tons of, snare and root immunity, so that we can move around the battlefields really easily. So it is a very good skill to run for that reason. We also do have Ravenous Goliath on the back bar. If for some reason you are just, you were taking a lot of pressure and you need a defensive ultimate, Ravenous Goliath is really good for that reason. you increase your maximum health by a shitload, and you turn into this big hulking Goliath. You restore health over time as you do light attacks, and you're dealing damage to enemies around you based on your maximum health. It's just a really, really good defensive ultimate if you do need it in a pinch, and so we do run that on the back bar. Your back bar ultimate can be pretty customizable, though. You can feel free to run the one-handed shield ultimate here as well, but I personally do like the Goliath form, so I do have that on the back bar. In terms of our stats, we're chilling at 14k maximum magicka, 27.5k max health, 34k max stamina on the front bar with 34.8 on the back bar. We have 11 stamina recovery, but that does increase when we do have our pet out and we have rally and our potion up. We have almost 5,000 unbuffed weapon damage. We have 4862. Our crits on the lower side. I mean, I do run savagery pots, but our standard crit's pretty low. I'll show you guys. This is with savagery pots. Our crit is going to be chilling at about 26%, so not the highest. They did move a lot of the crit to light armor, unfortunately, for this build. But savagery pots are still solid to run, in my opinion. Still give us a 1 in 4 chance to crit, which is helpful for our heals, helpful for our offense, and I think is just really good. Resistances with just the armor buff up are 18.8k apiece. Granted, this will increase with Puncturing Remedy. This will increase with Ancient Dragon Guard. Plus, we do have a bunch of percent mitigation sources for Major Evasion as well as the Spirit Mender. So 18.8k on the Necromancer actually does feel like quite a good amount. I also do have 2100 crit resist on the build as well, with 14 into health and 50 into stamina. I do run the Warrior Mundus for some extra weapon damage. I use the Lava Foot Soup and Salt Rice for more stamina and stamina recovery. And then I do run Imperial. I find Imperial to be such a fantastic race. It gives us a ton of bonuses, giving us 2,000 maximum health, 2,000 maximum stamina, and 6% cost reduction on all of our abilities. Now, that 6% cost reduction applies to everything. It applies to your core combat skills, it applies to your regular skills, it applies to your ultimates, it applies to everything, and so it's a ton of effective sustain and is my favorite race definitely for the Stamina Necromancer. Now, like I said, though, potion-wise, we are using the Essence of Weapon Crit for Major Savagery, Health Restoration, and Stamina Restoration. In terms of our champion points, I run Master at Arms for direct damage. This is going to affect the initial hit of Dawnbreaker, Blast Bones, D-Swing. Basically, our major burst combo is going to be affected by Master at Arms. We go with Biting Aura as well. It's going to affect Blast Bones and DB so that we hit really, really hard with our burst combo. We go 10% with Duelist Rebuff, since a lot of the skills that we are scared of this patch are single target, so Duelist Rebuff is really, really good for that. I go with Ironclad instead of Unassailable because any AoE skill I would be scared of mainly deals direct damage. So Ironclad not only hits those skills, but it hits the single target skills I'm scared of as well. So Ironclad is very, very good for that reason. I then run 1400 health with Boundless Vitality. And then I go with Survival Instincts for 25% cost reduction when afflicted with the status effect. This allows us to block, dodge, roll, sprint, do all of those things. It's a significantly reduced cost while we're affected with the status effect. So, because we do have that Sword and Shield on the back bar, we're able to sit there and block for a really, really long time with Survival Instincts, which is really, really, really nice. We also do run 2 of the new stars down here. I run Sustained by Suffering for increased recoveries while I'm afflicted with a negative effect, which will basically be all of the time while PvPing. And then same thing with Pain's Refuge. This reduces our damage taken by 1% per negative effect on you, up to a maximum of 20%, just giving us a ton of effective damage mitigation when we are actively engaged in combat. So that pretty much, I think, covers most of the stuff about the build. In terms of our rotation, guys, it is pretty straightforward. You're going to want to maintain Shuffle. There's a lot of maintenance of buffs and debuffs with the Stamina Necromancer, so something to keep in mind. You want to maintain Spirit Guardian, Summoner's Armor, and Shuffle, as well as Mortal Coil and Rally at all times on yourself. And then on your opponent, you want to maintain Pierce Armor. After that, it's like I mentioned earlier, you want to basically rinse, repeat the Dizzying Swing, Blighted, Blast Bones, Dawnbreaker combo until their health gets low, and then you hit them with Executioner, and then they die. The goal of the build is pretty straightforward. Maintain your buffs and debuffs, and then try to kill someone with that primary AoE damage combo. It really does not take much more of an explanation than that. Defensively, you simply, like I said, by maintaining Mortal Coil, you're going to have a lot of passive healing coming in at all times. But if you do need to play defensively, you can refresh your rally or just like sit here, literally hold block and just Vigor. And between your Vigor healing, your Mender healing, your Mortal Coil healing, blocking, and all your passive damage mitigation, like your health is just going to go up. And then you could Pierce Armor, swap bars, dizzying swing, blast bones, medium weave, DB, executioner. Like, he'll take care of people in no time. So the StamCro is really, really strong. It's fun to play. And if you've been looking for a build, hopefully the Plague build will suit your needs. But guys, that is going to be it for me today. And hopefully you did find this build video helpful. And if you did, I appreciate if you smacked a like on it. Any questions about the build, feel free to leave a comment below. And guys, if you did enjoy the build and you want to see more ESO builds from me, please feel free to hit that sub button as well as hit the bell to keep those notifications on for more ESO builds and other MMORPG content. But thank you all so much for stopping by today. I do very much appreciate it. As always, I'm Dots Gaming, and I'll see you all in the next video.